Hello, welcome to another Mechanic Mac video. This one I'm looking at a Volkswagen, what is this? It's a Touran 2009 1.4 TSI with 78,000 miles on the clock. I'm here because somebody's looked at this car and said it needed an oxygen sensor or a lambda sensor. And I'm just going to check that it does need it before I go and put one on, or which one it needs. Now that I'm here looking at the fault codes, it doesn't look like that may be the case anyway, so I'll show you what I'm seeing on the scan tool. So here's what we're seeing on the scan tool. What I'm making from this is the intake runner is stuck, so I'm guessing it's direct injection gasoline injection, so I think that's going to be stuck and the airflows may be restricted. We've got misfires. You can actually feel a misfire in the car. It seems more evident when you rev the engine slightly higher revs than letting it tick over. And then we've got it's running too rich on this one, the P2097. But I think if it's not getting the air in because of a gunged up and stuck intake manifold runner, that could be the problem. So I'm going to do some checks at the manifold control, see if I can get it to free off, and look at this P2004 fault first for the intake manifold control runner, and see, I want to know that's working, because if that's stuck and gunged up, I think that would be the incomplete combustion, and this post-cat may be saying it's too rich as well, so I need to take care of that first. When I'm happy with that, I can start looking at the other things. Under the hood, I'm going to take this cover off here and have a look at the intake runner. We can see that's obviously the exhaust, so the intake will be at the back on this engine and the runner will be in there. So I'm going to take this cover off and get a better look. So here's the intake runner at the back. There's the solenoid, little vacuum pipe on there, and that vacuum pipe looks like it comes around and it's driven by this actuator here with these two wires. And there's the intake runner. See the round white circle down there? That'll be the position sensor and the plug on it that you can't really see, right down there. So that's what I need to see if that can move. There's the rod, right there. That bit behind my finger is the rod. That's got to move freely, but one thing I'm noticing is somebody's changed the coils. They're not standard coils, maybe to take care of the misfire, but there is no misfire at idle. It's only when you pick the revs up you start to feel a little miss. It's not a dead miss like a full miss, it's just something not quite as it should be. So I think that's the issue. Somebody's changed them first, but I think everything's going to be down to this. If I can get into there, I'll take some more stuff off to make it easier to check. Okay, now I've got this vacuum set up on the diaphragm in there on that actuator, and right down here is the linkage. You can see it down there. There's a linkage and that should move when I apply vacuum. Well, I'm applying vacuum and we're holding vacuum, but that rod down there isn't moving at all, so something's stuck, and it means the diaphragm inside that actuator is okay. So we need to start removing more stuff. See what's going on. There's quite a bit to remove. I'll show you the buttons at the bottom are the first things I took off. So the wiper arms, this cover that's by the firewall. I've got, what was the next thing? This intake came off. The little pipe for the intake also came off. The throttle body. And lastly this bit. But none of that was gonna show me what I needed to see. After that all out the way, it's this bit that comes off, and it's bolted on from this side. Bolts on from that side. As you can see, I've got one of the flaps is stuck closed. Let's see about it this way. That one's stuck closed and bent. That one's stuck closed and not bent. That one's missing. That one's missing. If I hold it up, you can see right through it. And this actuator, see that when I was pulling a vacuum, it's already all the way up. So what it wanted to do was come down, and I didn't know that. I can't come down, it's totally jammed because this stuff that's messed up inside. And if I show you with a mirror where they go into the head, I don't know if you could see down there, they are still in there, and I think one of those was bent and twisted. Are you even seeing what I want you to see there? There's one that's bent, there's one that's straight, so these deflectors here, I'm guessing this would make the thing go one way or the other. A lot of this was loose. I've got a feeling somebody's already had this apart, and that was the idea of a repair, because I don't think that's got bent on its own, and I think these ones have been deliberately snapped off because they're nowhere to be seen. So we're going to need an intake runner to fix this and to straighten out the flap that was in the cylinder head. So it's bad news for the customer, only just bought the car. So that explains it, misfire. Yeah, I guess using a pulse sensor on the intake I might have been able to figure it out, syncing it to a coil, which one's got less of a pull. But anyway, I've just done it the old-fashioned way, took it apart. I thought it was actually going to be carboned up. It's not carboned up, it's just broke. And someone's been in here before, definitely. Because that one's straight, and that one's bent. Unless that's just how that one is. It almost looks like it's made that way, actually. Maybe it's not bent. Almost looks like it's made like that, like it's deliberately a different shape. I really don't know. Possibly not. Possibly not. But I know that's the problem. If I can't fray it off, it's going to need one. Actually, I just put this little, it's like a tool, trim tool. It's not a very good one because it's bent, but it was a cheap one. I just put that in there and levered it. You have to excuse the plane going over. I levered it and this snaps shut, spring loaded. So it might be we can fix this if I straighten that out and build it up. I don't know where these two here are though. That's a bit worrying. Why are two missing? I'll see what I can do. I'm looking at the back of the engine now of this mirror, but if we look at the shiny bits on this flap, while looking in the mirror, those edges are shiny. That's been forced. I don't get where the other bits are though, but someone's cranked this down and bent everything. So, I don't know. The problem's in the head now, you see. That one's not so bad. I can do something with that, but the problem's in the head. I've managed to find one of the flaps that was missing out of here, but it's inside the cylinder head and it's not magnetic, so I couldn't pull it out. But you can see on it that it's been rubbing. It was resting right up against the valve stem. It's been rubbing away. And also, you see this stuff. There's another one of those planes. This stuff on my fingers is like valve grinding paste where it's been rubbing away. So I think if some of that's gone into the cylinder, because it's on the intake side, some of that might have gone in the cylinder. And that might not be great for the engine if we've had some, what's basically appears to be now bits of this metal. It's almost like a valve grinding paste now. If that's been going in the cylinder, we're going to be a bit stuck. So I'll just do what I can do. I don't think it's probably not worth putting too much money into it. But the worrying thing is I can't find the other one. But like I say, someone has had that apart. Maybe it was a part for the other one and they didn't see this in there. But that explains the misfire. That was totally choking it up. But okay, I'll carry on and get back to you and see what it's like when I build it up. It's even better, I found the other one. So all the missing parts are accounted for now. It's awkward to fish them out because they're not magnetic, but I got them in the end. I don't think that was rubbing against the valve stem now that I'm looking at it. I think it's just where there's like two ports and the centre bit of the two ports. It was just, must have been vibrating on it. So that's all that is. So, yeah. It's almost ready for building up again. Another thing I thought of, because we've got these flaps that work here, there's two of them still working, and this works, we couldn't have no flaps in here. We couldn't take them all off, because what would happen when it applies a vacuum to this, it would pull it too far. It wouldn't go up against a stop, it would pull it too far, and then the position of this would be out of range. And also it might even come back too far the other way when it lets go, because it wouldn't have this flap to stop it. See, if that wasn't there, maybe the rod inside would rotate even more, so we'd still get fault codes. This way, building it up, we're going to at least get air in the engine, because what we've got now, it's basically working like an old carburetor if you were trying to drive with it stuck with the choke on all the time. It's not getting the air in, so we'll fix that. The swirl flaps aren't going to be doing what they should do on 2 cylinders, maybe slightly leaner on those cylinders at times, I don't know, but it's going to run a lot better than it did when it wasn't getting air in it. I've applied a little bit of vacuum on here into that actuator to lift this off, so it's not going to get squashed like what happened last time, and now I'm going to put it back together. There's a bolt down here that I couldn't get at because this bit's in the way. So I just use vice grips, because once it's cracked loose, it comes out by fingers, finger tight all the way. It's easy to take out, so done it the same way, putting it on, put the bolt in there first before putting on the intake runner. But if we look at this rod right here, we could see that rod right there. I don't know if you can see it's working. It's going up, and then release the vacuum, it goes down and up again, and down. It's working now, it wasn't doing that before. How's the car back together, running fine. I've emptied out the crap that was in the back as well, so it should help it. It's running fine. I cleared the fault code. I've not put the wipers on yet, still to do that. No, it's running fine, no fault codes anymore. So there it was. Originally I came out to fit an oxygen sensor. And, well, it wasn't that. I think it's because somebody's seen the wording, had the word lambda. And the lambda was saying it was too rich. And that makes sense because it wasn't getting the air into the engine that it needed. So it will be too rich. So that's the thing. I was doing some training at technical topics. And they said they think I'm pretty much already diagnosing anyway, but the thing they said is where I might be going wrong was not giving myself enough time, and that's true, because on a job like this I'd have discs and pads and a service on a different car and doing plenty of things the same day. But you see, once you don't need to do all that, you got one job only. If it's a diag, take your time, take all the stress away from it. And that's what I enjoy now, just one job. I've actually had a little break from being a mechanic. My shoulder, I got this shoulder problem going on here. I've got osteoarthritis, but I've also got this rotor cuff, I think it was called. I couldn't even get a wheel off a car and stuff like that. I was struggling too much. So I buy all my parts from Motor Parts Direct, unless it's a main dealer part. And I was speaking to the local guy in Roach, where I used to buy the parts, and he says I need a driver. So now that I'm driving, I've done that for a while, my shoulder's actually got totally fine on its own. So I'm feeling better now, but I do miss, because I deliver to the garages and I watch people fixing cars and I kind of think, oh, I miss that. And yeah, today I've done a job. Every once in a while I'm still doing jobs. I'm not giving up on it totally. I didn't know whether my shoulder would go again, so I didn't want to start and then have to stop and mess customers about. I thought I've either got to be doing it or stop, one or the other. I can't mess people about, like booking in a diary and then cancelling on people. So here's where I'm at. I've got this one. I found it fun. I enjoy doing these sort of things. And it's like they said at Technical Topics, don't try and do too much so that when you diagnose, give yourself plenty of time to do it. And that's certainly helped me. I'm a lot calmer now, because I haven't got to worry about making money. I got another job, but you see, I get paid anyway, delivering parts. But, yeah, I didn't know whether my shoulder would get better or not, so that's the thing. If it ends up being fixed, I might go back to being a mechanic, 'cause I do enjoy it, and a lot of people like me doing it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful to somebody.